Imagine the sound of rain against a window on a cold London evening. The city is dim, the war sirens silent. For once. In a small room at 10 Downing Street, Winston Churchill lights a cigar. The thick haze catches the lamplight, and he stares at a map. Europe, torn and bleeding. His bulldog profile is familiar to every newspaper in the world. But the man behind that image did not arrive here by luck or smooth opportunity. His life was a battlefield long before the bombs ever fell. Churchillian grit, people would later call it. Others simply called it stubbornness. Let's begin at the start. November 30th, 1874, Blenheim Palace. Born into privilege, yes. Born into love? Not quite. Winston's father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was a rising star in Parliament, brilliant and icy. His mother, Jenny Jerome, was a glamorous American socialite. Young Winston adored them both, but neither had much time for him. His letters from boarding school were often little pleas for attention, answered only with brief parental notes, if any at all. The loneliness cut deep. He wasn't a prodigy. He failed exams, struggled with Latin, disliked structure. He didn't shine in the classroom, but he did shine on horseback, in debates, and in the thrill of strategy. He found escape in a world of imagination, devouring historical biographies and military accounts. There, in stories of armies and empires, he found a mirror reflecting who he wanted to become. Sandhurst, Britain's military academy, was his gateway, not because he loved homework, but because war fascinated him. He became a cavalry officer, posted first to India. There, he read obsessively: history, philosophy, literature. He would later say that the foundations of his mind were built in those quiet hours in India, sweating under the subcontinental sun. But combat drew him like a flame draws a moth. In Sudan, he charged with the 21st Lancers at Omdurman, sabers flashing in the desert light. It was brutal and chaotic, men screaming, horses collapsing, bullets slicing through the sandstorm of battle. Churchill survived, but the sight of men butchered left him conflicted. He respected courage, but distrusted blind zeal. He had ambition, not just to fight wars, he wanted to shape the world. So he turned to journalism. War reporting paid for his adventures. He traveled to Cuba, wrote dispatches from the front line. Words became his weapon. He learned something essential. If people read your words, they remember you. And Winston Churchill wanted to be remembered. His golden ticket came in South Africa. The Boer War was raging. While covering the conflict, he was captured. In a makeshift prison camp in Pretoria, he plotted escape. One night, he slipped out alone, no weapon, no food. He climbed fences, dodged guards, and hid in coal trains. The men chasing him wanted to paint his recapture on posters. Instead, headline writers declared him a hero. When he returned to Britain, he was not just a soldier. He was a name, a story, a man of daring. Politics was next. At 25, he became a member of Parliament. He crossed party lines repeatedly, first conservative, then liberal, then conservative again. Some called him opportunistic, others called him visionary. He called himself one thing: independent. Early in his career, he pushed for social reform: public housing, unemployment insurance, state protections. He saw the working class not as a nuisance, but as Britain's backbone. These ideas made enemies among his aristocratic peers, but Churchill was not a man who feared enemies. He feared irrelevance. Then came the First World War. Churchill became First Lord of the Admiralty, the head of the Royal Navy, just as Europe tore itself apart. He championed new ideas: tanks, naval aviation, modern warfare strategies. Some colleagues saw genius, others saw arrogance. The disaster came at Gallipoli. The plan was bold: force the Dardanelles Strait, knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war, open supply lines to Russia. bold, and catastrophically flawed. Thousands died. The landings failed. Churchill was blamed. He wasn't fired immediately. He resigned. And then, astonishingly, he asked to rejoin the army. The disgraced politician traded polished shoes for muddy trench boots. He served on the Western Front, leading a battalion in the French countryside. At night, he painted landscapes to cope with the terror of artillery. It is said a man can drown in humiliation. Churchill simply waded through it. When the war ended, he clawed his way back into politics. He warned of a rising threat in Germany. Hitler was not just a demagogue, he was a storm gathering on the horizon. Britain's leaders laughed at him. Churchill insisted. They mocked him. He insisted harder. For nearly a decade, he lived as an outsider, writing books, giving speeches, even battling personal financial strain. He became a political ghost in his own country. Too loud, too blunt, too outdated, they said. Then the storm broke in 1939. Germany invaded Poland. Appeasement collapsed. Britain needed someone to face the enemy who refused to negotiate. Churchill was summoned. When he became prime minister in 1940, Britain stood alone. France was falling, America was neutral. Hitler's armies had conquered nearly everyone within reach. Britain's military was retreating to Dunkirk, its navy strained, its cities soon to burn under the Luftwaffe. Churchill did not promise peace, he promised struggle. His speeches were not beautiful in a lyrical way, they were beautiful in their defiance. He did not speak to calm his people, he spoke to ignite them. We shall fight on the beaches. If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour. These sentences were bricks. He built morale like a fortress around his island. The Germans came with bombs. London nights glowed orange as flames swallowed homes and churches. Air raid sirens became lullabies of fear. Children were evacuated to the countryside. But Britain did not surrender. And Churchill did what no prime minister had done. He walked among the rubble. He visited bombed neighborhoods and shook the hands of soot-covered workers. He cried with people who had lost everything. He offered no comfort except the truth. We will endure. Allies came slowly. First, the stubborn courage of the RAF, then the unbreakable industry of the United States. With Roosevelt's partnership, Churchill found the ally he needed. Together, they squeezed Hitler's empire. North Africa, Italy, Normandy. The war turned. By 1945, the world had changed. Britain had survived. The bulldog had kept the wolf from the door. And in one of history's grand ironies, Churchill was voted out of office the moment victory approached. People wanted peace, not war. They wanted welfare. Churchill accepted the loss with grace. He wrote his 6-volume history of World War II like a general carving memories into stone. He painted again, walked his garden at Chartwell, and brooded on the world's future. But the Cold War dawned, and with it a final role for the old lion. In 1946, at a small college in Missouri, he delivered a warning. An iron curtain was falling across Europe. Communism was not just another ideology, it was the next threat to freedom. His speech shocked many, angered some, and proved prophetic. In 1951, Britain called him back. He served as prime minister once more. Older, slower, but still sharp as a blade. He navigated foreign affairs, restrained nuclear temptation, and tried to maintain stability in a fractured world. When he finally retired, it was not because he wanted to, but because his body no longer matched his will. He died in 1965, receiving a state funeral, a rare honor. On the banks of the Thames, cranes lowered their arms in salute as his coffin passed. Winston Churchill left behind no perfect legacy. He was controversial, abrasive, wrong on many issues and brilliant on others, But history does not always reward perfection. Sometimes it rewards presence. When the world was on fire, he was the man who walked through the flames and refused to bow. And that, perhaps, is the story of Winston Churchill, not as a marble statue, not as a quote machine, but as a human being who understood one truth better than most. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing firm when fear becomes the air you breathe.